What's going on, everybody? This is Dan from DanMotoMusic, and today we're going to be tuning our ear to how to bend. These are very basic ideas, but the idea doesn't change at any stage of a player. You have to have your ear having the sound in it before you do the bend so you can hear it properly. So grab your acoustic or electric, and let's get started. Okay, everyone, so for this lesson, we're going to keep it very simple because for basics, you want to keep it simple so you can get your ear tuned to the idea of what we're doing and build off that foundation. A lot of the advanced stuff is based on basics. So we're going to be working on fret 7, ring finger on the 3rd string. Now with that 3rd string, what we're going to do, the idea is if you're going to be working a half step bend, which is going to be 1 fret up, a whole step bend, or a step and a half bend, which is 3. So half step 1, whole step 2 frets up, and a step and a half is 3 frets up from the original note. You want to slide possibly into it, or maybe just pluck them both. So let's start with just getting this idea of tuning our ear to a note. So let's go and start with a half step. So a half step is 1 fret apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be plucking the original note, and then I'm going to go ahead and pluck the fret that I'm going to be bending into. So I hear, you don't have to hum if you don't want to, but the idea is you got to hold that note that you're sliding into with the sound in your ear. Now that's super important because I hear na na. So when I do this bend, watch how I do it. So once again, notice how I'm sliding into it. I'm going to pluck it. Now I have it how it should sound with the slide or a bend into it. And that's as easy as it is. Now, obviously, for context of working with songs, it's a little different. We'll get to that in a minute. But just getting your ear with the idea of how it should sound as a half step, that's super important. So now, if you were to do the same idea with the whole step, you could do plucks. There's na, na. So now, notice also how I'm taking my time to work that bend. I'm going to pluck it, and then I'm letting myself feel the tension as I hear the note. I went a little over that time. And that's how you want to start working with your bends. So the reason for this is with just that basic of a foundation is you just can absorb that sound so much more. Now, obviously, you don't want to just do this once or twice a day and call it a day. You're going to have to practice this repetition, and it also depends on where you practice it on the fretboard of how it's going to feel and how it sounds. We'll get to that in a second. So now, a step and a half, which is fret 3 up, or 3 frets up from the original, so 7 to 10. So here's the sound. Now, same idea. I'm taking my time. I'm working that bend up, getting it tuned into my ear. Now, obviously, you can even consider this a warm-up idea or style because when you do this in context with a song, it kind of changes a little bit. But before we get there, let's talk now about our thumb placement. Proper thumb placement. If you're just doing this stationary, you want to have your thumb higher and use your fingers to push up on the string. So I'm not just using 1 finger, I'm using 3 fingers in this case and my thumb. My thumb is pushing downward and hooking in while my fingers are pushing upward like a fin, like this together. Now obviously the pinky isn't really doing much, but it's going to be these 3 fingers right here that are pushing up while I'm pushing in. Now it's almost like you could say it's squeezing in a sense, what you're squeezing down and pushing up. And that is, as well, guys, you just want to get used to that idea as a technique. We are building a technique base right now. So when we put this into context, it's just more automatic. That is the key, is the foundation is always to make something more automatic when we play and what we hear. And that takes time. So once again, now when I do this bend, I'm going to stick to the whole step bend. So right there. So when I do it, see how I'm pushing in and I'm pushing up with my fingers? That's the idea of how to do that basic, okay? So now, As in I said earlier, it depends on where you're playing in context. If I do this type of bend system over here in the lower register, it's going to be, if I do a whole step, you're going to get more tension. So it's going to be a little harder. Now, if I change strings as well, let's stay over here. String 2, fret 3 to fret 5. So here it is. It also depends on what type of strings you got, guys. So all of these play into factor. Now, once again, if you change even over here, it may get easier on the higher registers. It just depends. And it also depends on the fretboard. So now let's talk about if you're on the lower end, because we're kind of sticking to the middle, right? So now on the lower end, if I were to go, I'll fall off the fretboard. So what we want to do is, well, let's do once again whole step. So I'm going up 2 frets, but now we want to have a little bit of an idea of where we're bending down, and the thumb doesn't have to hook over so much. You just, you got to get used to that bend system. I think I went a little over on that. Let's try that again. There it is. Maybe a little flat, but do you see how that system works now? So for rule of thumb, if you were to split this guitar fretboard right in half on the 4th string and 3rd string, I usually, for anything that's going from string 1, 2, and 3, I bend upward. Possibly 4, I'll bend upward or downward depending. 5 and 6, I definitely bend downward. So you want to get used to that idea for context. And now let's go ahead and move this into if you were doing this with a song. So if you're doing this with a song, I'm not going to play any song because I don't want this to get a strike on my video. But let's just use this as an idea. If I'm doing this, I'm going to go back to fret 7, string 3. I'm going to bend up here. And then I'm going to outline my pentatonic scale. So here it is. So I'm going to be using 3 for the ring, 1 finger on the fret 5 on the 2nd, and then my pinky on fret 8 for the 2nd. So I'm going to bend it. Missed a note in there. Missed another note. What's wrong with me today? I should probably warm up before I start making videos for the day. So the idea though is I'm still going up a whole step. So I'm kind of like, it's like I'm sliding in, and to be honest, I'm kind of right between a half step and a whole step when I do this. I don't really go up the full way, and it's just a style. But if I wanted to work it like, oh, I want to work a whole step bend, I'll probably get my ear tuned to that first. And once again, it doesn't matter if you pluck or pluck slide. See how I made that happen right there? So once again, get it in your ear, work on the bend, put it in context. Now, notice my thumb placement is even different now. I am no longer like slouched over the top I'm a little bit more further back, and my thumb's a little bit more squared up. So I'm kind of between the fingers this time. And the reason for that, it feels good to me. I'm not hurting myself in any way, and the technique works. But notice also, when I do this first note, the snap to the first finger, that's important. That's huge. You got to get that technique first, because if you're not used to doing transfers on strings, it may not happen the way you want. So there's a lot that goes into context when you play a solo. Obviously, I'll make a video. I'm pretty sure I've already made it, but just in case, I'll probably make another one. If you're working on solos, you want to make sure to break them down into sections that are bite-sized. That doesn't mean you have to play 5-10 notes. You could play just 2 notes or 3 notes the way I did right there. But the idea and the concept, guys, is understanding and using bends to your advantage by tuning your ear to it. Now, obviously, a lot of these I've done is with the 3rd finger, but this can happen with any finger. Like if I was going to be doing instead of the 3rd finger, and I wanted to work maybe like a bend over here with the middle finger, let's see, or the 1st finger, let's do that. Let's say pentatonic scale again. I'm going to take it from top. I'm going to stop right here on my 1st finger, and I'm going to have my root note. Actually, let's do it from the middle finger, fret 7, string 4. Here's my root. Here's the bend I'm going to work on with my 1st finger, which is a C note. Yeah, Yeah, C note. So what I'm going to do here is notice now, the rule of thumb I said earlier was I usually bend upward here, but because of the context of this bend, I'm going to be bending this one down with my first finger instead of up. Now I can, but to me it feels better to bend it down. So what does that tell us already? Well, if I feel better bending downward on something and I can get the same sound, bend down. If I want to bend it upward and I get the same sound, bend up. And more importantly also is if you're not hurting yourself while doing so. So if I were to just do this bend, 1/2 step up. Once again, get your ear tuned to it first. Now, normally with that bend as well, you don't always take it up a half step. You do kind of like a micro bend or somewhere between the frets. It's a taste, it's a style. You'll have to hear what you're trying to emulate and see, is this a whole step? I'm sorry, see if it's a half step, a whole step, or a step and a half. Sometimes, some songs, they're not. Sometimes they're right between a half step and a whole step, and it's taste. So you got to get your ear tuned to how that sounds. And a way to do it is play the song, bend with it. Find where the bends are. Tabs help. They sometimes tell you if it's a half step, whole step, or a step and a half, but not always. And sometimes, I mean, it's a piece of paper or it's on the internet. You still have to get your ear tuned to it, guys. So the idea is get your ear in tune, start working the bends, find what works for you, and you don't have to bite off more than you can chew as far as working on solos or anything. This is just a good template to follow as far as getting your ear where you need it to go to get the right sound every time. Thank you guys for watching this guitar lesson video, and I'll see you on the next one.